My name is John Rankin, and today I'd like to talk to you about how to find and retain good people. Finding and retaining good people is very difficult, and it's been reported by several management companies that it is one of the top things that CEOs are endeavoring to come to grips with, because it's such a competitive market out there that finding and retaining good people is probably the number one problem that businesses have. So what they're actually looking for in a lot of cases, and what they advertise, is they're looking for talented people who are adaptable or agile and who are super productive. But in saying that, things are still going wrong, because this problem has actually been reported for the last number of years. And for that reason, I want to introduce you to a very new approach that takes into account the very basic principles of human nature. So with that, I'd like to ask you, who would you like to work with? Would you like to work with someone you like, or with someone you dislike? Would you be more motivated, more productive, more engaged? So these are really questions that are skirted over by hiring firms and also HR, who pick people normally on their qualifications. So the real question why is, why do employees stay? Well, I mean, if you look at the very first one, there is the feeling of connection. Okay, so also the feeling of being valued. So it's about how a person feels. It's not about their qualification. Yes, they need to be qualified to do the job, but they can also be upskilled. So they want to know that they can get on with their manager, and most people initially, have a loyalty to their manager before they have a loyalty to their co-workers or the company. So it's very important how people feel about their senior managers or their immediate managers. So if one picks for talent, one can end up in a situation where a person can feel left out, where they don't feel connected with the existing team. So you need to be able to identify that and bridge the gap. So what do people, or how do people make up their minds? It normally only takes about 7 seconds, and 1/10 of a second to determine traits like trustworthiness. People instinctively sense this, and if they don't trust someone, they don't want to give any more effort into that relationship. So people do business and buy from people they know, like, and trust. And trust is very fragile. People will trust people who are like themselves, but you also need to have people who think differently, who have different perceptions and everything else. So it's really important to have a mix. So a lot of people go with their gut feeling or their biases. So that can be a situation where, well, you're different, you don't look like us, so therefore we're not going to pick you. And this is a totally wrong way of doing things, because you then don't get that diversity or that difference that you need in any sort of balanced team. So biases can come in many forms, particularly, say, startups would know bias when say a venture capitalist or angel investor mightn't even consider them. Why? Because they made up their mind they don't really like the person. And this is sometimes, the wrong thing. So it means that startups sometimes have a lot more effort into finding someone they can relate to in a venture capitalist. So where's it going wrong? Well, people are picked for their talent, but they leave or they're let go because they didn't fit into the team or the culture of the organization. And this is a particularly big problem. So how do you pick people? Well, it's easy enough if you're picking for yourself. You can pick close friends or you can pick family. That's if you trust them. But how do you pick acquaintances, people who you don't know? Or if you have people on your team who are 2 or 3 people removed from you directly, how do you pick for them? And this is where the problem actually starts, because what's good for you mightn't be good for your senior manager in another team. So the wrong fit is like mixing the wrong chemicals. It can either be, a damn squid, or it can be a huge explosion, where people just go, I'm out of here. So how do we do this? Through a simple questionnaire, we get to know the team. We find out the traits of the people in the team and who gets on with whom and how to connect them. And this is where we can actually add huge value. Some say in excess of 20% to the productivity of a team, which then relates to the bottom line. And if people are enthused by the team they're working with and by the management, then they are advocates of the company. They actually promote the company to the customers and get the customers involved. So this is where the key of finding and retaining good people, because you put in the connectivity within the team. So what we do is when we look at people's traits, and this is a very, very basic model, we look at how each section there is connected to the next section. But the arrows underneath show where conflict would arise. So if you're missing one of those particular sections, say like public relations, then a brainstormer is going to conflict with the mentors, researchers, and central connectors. And this is where conflict arises and takes up a huge amount of management time and HR time. So by building, a good team, it doesn't mean that you're managing that, a large team. It's all about having a team where you have the right people on it. So knowing how the full team will support and work together will lead to success. So this predictive analytics is knowing on how to build and manage teams with assurance. If you require any further or more detailed information, please get in contact with me. Thank you so much.